Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're tackling a question that, let's be honest, has probably kept every cat owner up at night at some point. What is actually going on inside that little feline head? You see them every single day, right? Curled up on your couch or batting at a sunbeam. But how much do we really get about how they see the world? I mean, how do they solve problems? Do they really remember us in the way we think they do? For the longest time, it was all just guesswork and mystery. But now, thanks to some really clever experiments and even things like brain scans, science is finally starting to crack the code. We're moving past just stories and into some actual hard data. So let's dive in and see what they've found out. Okay, so first things first. Let's start with something that sounds simple, but is actually a huge deal in the world of cognition. Do cats get that just because something disappears, it hasn't just, poofed out of existence? So this idea is called object permanence. It's a massive developmental step for human babies. It's that whole peekaboo thing, right? They eventually learn you're still there. So of course, scientists got really curious. How do our cats stack up? So the test they use is pretty straightforward. You show a cat a toy they love, you hide it in one of two boxes, and then you let them go find it. Sounds easy enough, but wow, the results show some really interesting and surprising limits to how they see the world. Okay, so this is where it gets really fascinating. If you let your cat watch you put the toy in a box, boom, they'll find it, no problem. That's what scientists call a visible displacement. But, and this is the key, if you hide the toy in your hand first and then put your hand in the box and leave the toy there, they're totally lost. They just can't seem to make that mental leap. That extra little step is a huge cognitive hurdle for them. So, okay, if they find these slightly more abstract hiding games tricky, what does that say about how they solve other kinds of problems? I mean, are we looking at logical thinkers here, or is something else going on? Well, to figure this out, researchers brought out a classic test. It's called the string pulling task, and they've used it on all sorts of animals. The setup couldn't be simpler. You've got a treat, it's tied to a string, and the cat has to figure out, how do I get that treat? And yeah, this quote from the study really nails it. You see, really clever animals, like crows, for example, can solve super complex versions of this puzzle. But cats, well, they come at it from a completely different angle.
So check this out. One string, one treat. Easy. They'll pull it every time. But give them two parallel strings where only one is actually attached to the food. They basically just guess. And get this, if you cross the strings, they'll just pull the end that's closest to the food, even if it's the wrong one. It shows they're not really thinking about cause and effect or physics. They're just thinking, hey, pulling a string that's near food, sometimes that works. It's all about association, not logic.
Okay, so if they're not these little furry logicians, how in the world do they learn and remember things so well? I mean, they know their dinner time down to the second, right? Well, it turns out their memory is absolutely incredible, but it's all tied up with their experiences and, really importantly, their emotion. Think about it. They're total creatures of habit. They know exactly when dinner is, or when you're supposed to get home from work. But it's not just a vague feeling. They remember the whole routine, the time on the clock, the sound of your car, all the little things that lead up to the main event. This points to something called episodic memory. They're actually remembering specific events in a sequence. So what we're seeing is a really surprisingly complex memory toolkit. They've got short-term memory for, where did that mouse just go? But they also have this really powerful long-term memory that basically shapes who they are. And it's all built on that foundation of learning from what happens to them, the consequences of their actions. And this is where you really see the power of that link between memory and emotion. We're talking about phobias. Just think about the vacuum cleaner or the dreaded cat carrier. It can take just one bad experience for that fear to get hardwired into their brain for years. It's proof of just how deep and lasting those emotional memories can be. But here's the beautiful part. That same powerful emotional memory, that's also the foundation for the amazing bonds they form with us. They don't just see you as the person who opens the can of food. They remember you. They remember your smell, the sound of your voice, the way you pet them. They remember the feeling of being safe and loved with you. It's a real connection. So after all this, why does any of it matter? What's the big takeaway? Well, understanding how they think completely changes the game. It reframes how we see them, and more importantly, how we should be interacting with them. So, when you think your cat is being stubborn or just not getting it? It's probably not that at all. What we're seeing is a totally different way of thinking, one that's super well adapted for what they are. They live in the moment, in a world of if this, then that. It's all about association, not abstract logic. Their intelligence is perfect for a lone hunter. It's just not the same as ours. And when you really start to get that, it encourages a whole new level of empathy, right? It helps us build a much stronger bond because we're finally meeting them on their terms. It really makes you stop and think, what other kinds of intelligence are out there, right under our noses, that we just haven't learned to appreciate yet?